Hello everyone, my name is Joel Washira, and if you are new to this channel, here we talk about history, maps, and we also give opinions. And today we are going to talk about Karen, which is a suburb in Nairobi, and it's one of the most famous suburbs of Nairobi. Don't worry about my outfit, I'm wearing a Chelsea jersey in protest, and if you are a Chelsea fan, you know what we are protesting about. But away from that, let's talk about Karen. Karen was named after a Danish woman named Karen Blixen. And this woman came to Kenya in 1914 and she started a coffee plantation from the foothills of Gong Hills all the way to the present day Karen that you know it. And this was a coffee plantation and she recruited locals who worked in her farm. And if you have watched the movie Out of Africa, you might get a clue of her story when she was in Kenya. And another thing about Karen, it's located on the southwest of Nairobi city center, and it neighbors Gong Hills, Nairobi National Park, Langata, and Dagoretti. And it's famous of having like large compounds. The people who live in Karen have one of the biggest compounds in Nairobi. You might find a person living in a 20-acre home in Karen, and where others are living in small apartments and they are still in the same city. And this has made Karen maintain the luxury nature of it compared to other estates that were luxurious before but have been overtaken by poor urban planning, Kilimani being one of them. And another thing about Karen, it's so forested and it has cool environment. In fact, a person who lives in Karen and a person who lives maybe in a ranch or in a village somewhere, they have no difference because they don't have that feeling of being in the city and they have that closeness to nature. And also there are other parts that have gated estates, and there are a lot of things, but let's talk about Karen Blixen. And who was she? Like I said, she was a Danish woman who moved to Kenya in 1914 with her husband then, who was Baron Brol Blixen. A baron is one of those titles given to British aristocrats. And if you came from an aristocrat family, it's just some social, like they have social classes. If you studied history, you know about those social classes in the British Empire. There are those, they still exist to date, and you inherit the title given the power that your family held. And if you watched like the movie, it was made out of her memoir, Out of Africa, but the movie premiered in 1985. After 1931, Karen Blixen left Kenya because of financial struggles in coffee farming, and her farm was subdivided into small portions and sold, and the neighborhood was named Karen. Yeah, present day Karen was named because of her coffee farm. And there is also a museum named after her, still in Karen. And if you go to that museum, you will learn about the history of Kenya, colonial Kenya. And it was transformed into a luxurious suburb, and you can imagine the number of diplomatic compounds in Karen, and also most politicians in Kenya. I think almost every politician has a home in Karen. And also it's famous for a shopping mall known as the Hub Karen. There is also Giraffe Center, and also whenever you go there, there is also the Giraffe Manor, the famous hotel that you see. It's a restaurant, but in Kenya we call restaurants hotels. It's also a restaurant and a hotel where you see giraffes poking their heads into windows when you're having your meals, and it's located in Karen. Another thing about Karen, it represents old colonial history, wealth and exclusivity, conservation and greenery, and also Nairobi urban expansion. Like there is this one guy who lives in Karen, and one thing he used to tell us that they don't mess around when it comes to respecting zoning laws. Like you can't just go there and build a flat. You can't go there and open a shop. Like I remember the guy when he was driving around Karen and he saw someone who was selling Maya Smoky with that trolley, and he was so angry that peasants were raiding his neighborhood. And I was like, you should just relax. But he told me that if you allow small things to be small laws to be violated, then in no time we wouldn't be having such an estate. Another thing about this estate known as Karen is that it also hosts a number of government offices and also a number of institutions. You might know Cooperative University, JKUAT Karen campus. You might know there are many universities located here. Also, the National Defense University is also located in Karen, amongst others. And another thing about Karen, like I said about the greenery, it also borders the gong forest that has been under threat. Like we'll look at that later. Like this is one of the biggest urban forests that we have around Kenya, and it's under threat. But if you look at Karen, you might confuse the forests as being the estate as being inside the forest, but it's because the guys here know how to take care of nature. Like if you look at Karen from above, you can't tell the difference between a gong forest and where Karen starts because they have managed to integrate with nature. And these are some of the things that we should look at. And also infrastructure that leads to Karen. The dualling of Gong Road has made things easier. The construction of the southern bypass from Mombasa Road all the way to Gikuyu has become one of those modern things that have been constructed during our time. But even before that, Karen was always developed, and it's because of people obeying simple laws of zoning, not allowing politicians to interfere. Like this shows you how leaders protect themselves. And another thing with these rich neighborhoods, when your neighbor is as rich as you are bound to respect each other. Like you can't just carry your title home. Whenever you go home, you work with the rules that you have all agreed on as a state. Like I remember there was a politician who used to fly his helicopter into his current compound, and the organization of residents wrote to this particular politician and told him, you can't continue flying your helicopter into your compound. You are making a lot of noise, which is not good for us and good for animals. Yes, people in Karen keep animals. And as you know, in urban Nairobi and other urban centers, the local bylaws don't allow you to keep animals, domestic animals, unless you have special permits. But in Karen, people are known to keeping animals, especially horse breeding, because they have large tracts of land, even bigger than Kenyans living in the villages. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you on the next video.